Alright folks, I am going to make a video well, I guess I had a request for a video from PowerRam 92, the adjustments I made on this combine from corn to beans, and soybean farmer wants to know the RPMs and whatnot of my engine and the cylinder speed and everything, so I'm going to go over that right now. As you can see, there is a vice grip right there because my adjuster handle in the cab, I can't turn it. Maybe if I put a 4-foot pipe wrench on there, I could maybe get it to turn, but so I adjust it down here, and as you can see, I'll grab my flashlight out of my Leatherman quick and make it so you can see a little bit better. On there, you can see that down to the zero, the rasp bar will be hitting the concaves or whatever you want to call them. And as you open that up towards a higher number, it opens up the gap all the way up to clean out. On soybeans, I was running it down around the 7 and 8, and then at the end, I had got some Kussmaul beans from my cousin when I ran out of Stein, and they were feeding like crap, so I opened it up a little bit more to try and prevent the cylinder from plugging. So I have it on 10 right now, and honestly it did just as good of a job, I think, as it did on the 7. But then when I'm running corn, I want to say I had it set around 12-13 when I did that last gravity box, just open up that field back there where I want to put the cows. So that's the adjustment for your rasp bar, cylinder, whatever you want to call it. And I'm pretty sure in the other video I mentioned that I had to tighten that belt, thinking that was the belt that was slipping every time it would get a slug. Well, it still had the problem, and I ended up tightening up this belt, which this drive pulley and the pulley up there are timed via this bicycle chain. So I tightened that belt up, and that helped a lot. But my problem is with the head, and a couple of you guys had suggested that I adjust the reel and everything on the head, and I'm going to go over that. There's some issues with that as well, so I'm going to go over the combine here first, and then I'll go to the head. And as you can see, I got a roll of my Yeller duct tape that's going to patch that hole for the rest of the year. And then underneath here in the sieves, I'll grab my light again so you guys can see. The sieves I have basically opened up just enough that the beans will fall back through there, and then in the back they're open just a smidge more than the front ones. I don't know if you guys, if it's gonna pick that up. I think it will. And those you're gonna have to play with in your beans. So that's basically how I have the sieve set. And then up in the combine, I was running first gear as fast as my variable speed would go, and then every once in a while I was running in second gear with the variable speed pretty much as slow as it would go. Every once in a while, just playing around, I would go faster, but I didn't run that fast for that long. And here it says my cylinder speed. I am running my cylinder on the beans around 600 RPM. On the corn, I was running at about 700. And I'm going off of what the book says for starting points. And my engine in here, if I run in full tilt, he'll turn 2,500 RPMs. But I am running the engine speed at between 22 to 2,300 RPM to achieve that on the cylinder. It will run wide open, but I hate running an engine wide open if I don't have to. And when the combine goes in for service next year, before I start combining again, I am going to adjust my throttle stop so it won't go over 2,300. I know it's rated for 2,500, but Every tractor I've ever drove that has a 329 in it, they turn 2200. And I am going to put a throttle stop so it'll only go up to 23. 2500 is a lot of... It's pretty high RPMs for a diesel engine, in my opinion. It's not a Detroit two-stroke, so... But on here, this piece of paper I wrote down out of the book, this is what the book says for clean grain that you're going to sell, no cob in it. So 400 to 700 RPM for your cylinder speed. Number 14 to 18 on your RAS bars. Your sieves should be half to 5/8 opening. And then your fan speed 950 to 1100 RPMs, which I want to say the book says that 1100 RPM is as fast as the fan will go on here. And then for the beans, 450 to 650 on the RPM on the cylinder. Number 4 to 9 on the RAS bar setting. 3/8 to ½ inch on the sieves, and 950 to 1100 on the fan. I pretty much have the fan about as fast as it'll go. I cranked her down as far as she go, and I backed it off a couple turns. So it's in that 950 to 1100 on the fan. And one of these days when I go visit my buddy at Napa, I'm going to ask him if he can't get me one of those mechanical RPM gauges that you put on the end of a shaft. I know DuFarms a bit has one, and I'd never known there's anything out there until I saw your video when you had that RPM gauger when you were setting up. I can't remember if it was the McCormick. It must have been the old McCormick or whatever combine. And then Jake, I believe, has one too. I never knew there was one of those around until I saw your guys' video. But that's what I have this stuff set at. And like I say, I was running first gear about as fast as variable speed would go. And then a couple times I tried it second gear, which it handled it fine. The biggest problem is my head. It builds up and then it feeds in as a slug. And I'm going to go over that in a minute. The issues I had and some of the work that it's going to need before next year. Which I'm trying to find a running gear. Actually, I'm trying to find 2 running gear that I can build for head haulers that I can put my heads on, because once I get the new cattle area done, this whole lean-to here, I'm gonna back equipment in here, and I want to get the heads underneath the roof. So that's what I have, and as you can see there, that belt is pretty much out as far as it'll go on that pulley. So I would say that fan is about as fast as she's gonna go. So it's got to be around that 1100 RPM. And so that's what I had the combine set at. And it did a good job. I mean, these beans I still need to get in the end dump, which I don't know if it's gonna get in today. Today's Monday. My buddy went to get the chopper. Apparently he's gonna try and chop a little bit of sorghum for some other neighbors. But I mean, the beans are clean. There's grasshoppers in here, and every once in a while there's, you know, there's a shell in here, but not very much. So I would say it's pretty clean. And there are some beans out in the field. I no-tilled winterine there into that field yesterday with the drill. I didn't make a video of it because I didn't know if anybody really want to watch another video of no-till planting winter rye as a cover crop. But I did plant it yesterday, and I was going to just broadcast seed it, but I wanted to use the drill so I could get an idea of how big that field is. And it is right around 9 acres. So it's in that gravity box. I'm guessing there to be around 110 bushel in there. It's 180 box when it's full. So that's on the 3 outside rounds, and when I measured that, the headland rows are about 3 acres, 2.5 to 3 acres. So that's what the outside did, and I'll tell you that the rest of it didn't yield the way the outside did. The problem I have with this hose right here is supposed to be for the reel up and down, and my combine has a variable speed feeder house, which I see no reason for it to have it. So I can't raise the reel up and down. It's pretty much down. And if I can figure out a way to disconnect that so that variable speed don't work and get it so I can raise my reel up and down, I'm gonna do that because I want to get a direct cut head for small grains for next year. And now it's sitting on the ground, so it's gonna be hard to see. But as you can see here, when I was doing the winter rye, I was having problems with it, slugging and whatnot. And I had loosened up all the bolts on here, and I had a come along on here trying to pull this thing back, trying to get it closer to the auger. And I can't get it to move. I put this bolt in here just to keep it from sliding forward on me. As you can see, it didn't move off that hole at all, and I was bending the handle on the come along, and it's a 2-ton or a 4-ton puller. So I need to figure out what's wrong with that, why I can't get it to move. The other thing, I had mentioned before that I put all new rock guards on here. Look at how many of them have the tops already broke off. All the way down, and if they didn't break the top off, they're bending. And there's a lot of them down there that the tops are broke off. Well, what I think it is, as you can see that tooth right there, I think the teeth are too long and they're getting caught between the sickle and the rock guard and it's snapping the top of the rock guards off. So I need to do something with that. And then I need to put all new obviously need to put new rock guards on. But I want to put all new sickle sections in here before next year. And I looked up a new sickle for it, and it's about $600. Well, another problem I'm having is the bolts for the drive, the sickle head drive or whatever. The bearing's out of it now. If you guys can see it here, the bearing's out of here. I keep breaking these bolts. Well, come to find out, the bearing's going out of here. So I need to get a new head, and I can get a new head for 80 bucks off a chute. So I'm gonna get that for next year, and as you can see, the back one's broke again. So it's gotta be breaking because the bearing is out of here and it's slamming back and forth. So I need to get a new sickle head on here. Yeah, cats are fighting. So I need to put a new sickle head on there. Try and figure out something with this reel. Try and get it to slide back a little bit because, like I say, it's building up on there and then feeding in as a big slug. So I need to try and get that reel slid back farther, which if I could get it slid back, it would raise it up a little bit. And that should hopefully cure the issue of my rock guards breaking. And then on the fingers here, these two are missing. So I need to get in there and replace them too. And then I want to see it's either one or two on the opposite side is missing too, which I haven't had a problem with that part of it. It's been that it builds up out there and then all of a sudden it feeds a slug through. So I think, like I say, getting that reel moved back, which will also raise it up, will fix that problem. So that's kind of what's going on with the head. But I do, like I say, I want to do something with that variable speed feeder house. So disconnect it or get some new ends on the hoses and put a Y in there with a couple shut-off valves so I can either use the variable speed feeder house or close valves and then get it so I can raise the reel up and down. Because like I say, I'm trying to find like a number 100 or a direct cut head regardless. Another 13-foot direct cut without the floating cutter head for oats and for either winter rye or winter wheat. I'm hoping, I'm thinking about going down and getting a couple bags of winter wheat to plant this year to combine, because at least with winter wheat, whatever I don't use for seed, I can feed it to the cattle, where winter rye, it's kind of iffy if you really want to feed that to cattle because they say that it has endophyte toxin or something in it. I don't know, and I'd rather not take a chance with my animals. So that's kind of what is going on with the head. Like I say, I'm trying to get a couple running gears to make header carts or whatever, so I can get these on so I can work on them in the winter time when there's nothing else going on. Fluffmont, would you quit fighting? So yeah, that's what's going on with the combine. That's the settings. That's the issues with the head. Hopefully I answered some of your guys' questions. Otherwise, if you have any more questions, feel free to comment. I'll try to answer them. And like I say, once the beans get to town, I'll let you guys know what it ended up yielding per acre. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like I say, hopefully that answers some of your guys' questions, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.